So, good afternoon to everyone, and we have entered into unit number 5. And look at this, we have successfully completed what is a transaction in the previous class. In the previous session, we have completed this one. And today, we would like to concentrate. Today's lecture is probably some 20 to 25 minutes only. I don't know whether it could be gets increased. So, properties of your transactions and the transaction log. What are the components of transaction log? These 2 points will be look into by this class here, this today's session here. Let us have a look. So previously we have come across all states of the transaction. That is, a transaction might be in active state or partially committed state or committed state or failed state, otherwise a terminated state. And already we have come across with different kinds of states, how the states are being evaluated while any transaction is being executed. Everything has been seen here. Everything has been seen in a proper way. So of the problem in the previous class here. All these things have been completed in the previous class. And today I'd like to concentrate on the properties of a transaction. Normally in database management system, properties of a transaction will be called as ACID properties, ACID. Atomicity, consistency, then isolation and durability. Atomicity, consistency, isolation and durability. All these things will be collectively called as acid properties. Don't be think another way. So because the first characters of each and every property will be collected together and will be asked and will be set as a specific topic of DBMS, that is acid properties. If you are, I'll give you one serious note here. The note will be if you are supposed to attend any interview after completion of your BTech, if you are supposed to attend any interview, and if you are supposed to, enter into your panel, then obviously they may be ask you one question, explain about acid properties. Okay, directly they will ask the first question in database management system. The first question might be explain about the acid properties. These properties are very important properties while talking something about database management systems transactions. Okay, that is why you have to pay much attention while we are giving or we are discussing regarding to these properties here. Okay, and let us have a look here. What are these properties here in the sense? So these properties are used to maintain. What is the basic issue of this one is to maintain the integrity of the database here. Integrity in the sense. So if you are doing some kind of updation in any table of the database, that must be ensures that this updation will be completed. That is what the meaning of integrity. I'll repeat, integrity does means if you are doing some kind of operation on the database, for example, most probable operation on the database is the updation. So updation will be change the state of your database. It could be always change the state of your database. State in the sense, of course, previously, if you consider one particular record, previously the record size will be some 30 bytes. After updation, it may be increase the number of bytes of that particular record. Otherwise, decrease the number of bytes of that particular record. Okay, both will be it's possible. Let me show you how this could be happen here. Let us consider the notepad here, and these are the different kinds of attributes which are available with me. So let me say employee ID, employee name, and then salary, and then a department, something like that. Let me take some example. It is not a particular way. Some example here. Employee ID, which does have 501, and employee name, let me say Hari, and then salary will be 12,300. Department is CSE. For example, it could be given like this. Now, if you observe this particular record, so employee ID has 3 bytes. It is exactly 3 bytes, and it does have 4 bytes, and it does have 5 bytes, and it does have 3 bytes. So as a collectively, so total number of bytes which is being occupied by this particular record will be 7 plus 10, 15 bytes. For example, total number of bytes will be 15. So it is available with you right now. Now, what do you mean by integrity here, in the sense that integrity will be always ensured that that operation must be performed completely. That is the meaning of integrity. How it could be, most probable operations on database will be only updates. So update operation is always expected to perform by databases, so that this particular person ask the people, I mean, hierarchy, that my name is not Hari, my name is Hari Kumar, for example. Hari, so Kumar also be there with him. So if you add this particular Kumar here, previously total number of bytes which is being occupied by this particular record will be 15. Right now, let us write one more time. So Hari Kumar, in the sense, let me take. 5 plus 1, 6. So space also be calculated. So total it is 10 bytes. Then it is as usual 5 bytes, and it is as usual, that is 3 bytes. Right now it could be 21 bytes. So size of your record will be gets increased. Whereas this is the previous size and this is the new size. Okay. So in this way, state of the specific database will be gets changed from before going to operate the update. So state will be some other way, and right now after updation, state will be some other way, or increase the size of your row, or decrease the size of your row. So something like that it could be there. So such kind of operation is called as integrity. To maintain such kind of integrity, these properties are very much important. Okay, these properties are very much important to maintain the integrity. And the name has been emerged something like this, as it will be atomicity, the first character of A, that is atomicity, and second character consistency, excuse me. Okay, consistency and isolation, and then durability. Let us go in detail about each and every point here. Okay, what do you mean by atomicity? What do you mean by consistency? What do you mean by this durability here? Atomicity, in the sense, what exactly it could be gives you is a transaction must be a single unit of operation. Even then, the transaction might be includes several number of database operations. So the transaction which could be written in between begin transaction and end transaction will be called as a single logical unit. It is a single logical unit. Okay. So you may be execute entirely at once. You need to remember this one, entirely at once, or not execute at all. That is what about the atomicity. So normally in our intermediate, you maybe have a study in chemistry, that is atomic value. Atom in the sense single particle. What do you mean by atom? Atom in the sense single particle. So if you write the begin transaction, let me say PT, and at the end transaction, so ET, you may be written as many number of instructions here, database instructions here. This whole component will be considered as a single piece of information, will be called as one transaction. This is one transaction here. You may be executed completely. So for example, some 20 instructions are there in between begin and end transaction. So these 20 instructions should be executed at a time. Otherwise, don't consider this transaction, either of these two. Okay, so consider 20 instructions must be executed at a time. Otherwise, don't consider this transaction for execution. Then it could be called as the transaction has been followed atomicity. So all these properties will be so applicable on a transaction when they are in execution. When they are in execution. So you have prepared, just now I have prepared some transaction doing this operation. I have prepared and I have to put on the paper, and all those transactions will be written by me in SQL statements with a program name, and it is not supposed to be executed by me at this moment. At this moment, it was not executed. Then it could not be considered that atomicity or consistency or isolation durability will be followed, because it is not under execution mode. Okay, it is not as far as the states of a transaction. It is not in active mode. There is no active mode. So because of not having active mode, it could be considered that so the atomicity are not supposed to be followed here. However, whatever it may be, so entire transaction will be executed at once. Otherwise, not to be considered that particular transaction at all. Okay, so these two will be considered as so what you call atomicity. Okay, and the partial execution is not enter time. What do you mean by partial execution? In the sense, out of 20 instructions, you may be execute some 5, and remaining 15 is waiting for execution. Then you could not say that is under atomicity mode. That is what you need to consider. That could not be said in atomicity mode. Okay, so entirely executed. Let me explain everything in the next slide, so you could get a better idea about all this. Okay, I have prepared 2 transactions for you. So in next slide. Then consistency. So already we have discussed this one in the previous class itself. That is, before going to start your transaction, let us assume that your database is in a specific consistent state. Consistent state in the sense, whatever the values possessed by that particular database will be so correct values. That is called as a consistent state. If you are supposed to consider your transaction will be consistent, how you could identify this one here in the sense, if atomicity will be followed, obviously consistency will be existed. What does it mean? So right away from begin transaction to end transaction, entire so transaction will be gets executed. Then obviously so commit points will be available during the so transaction. Then all commit points will be gets executed by the transaction. Then the database will be so available with so consistent state. Okay, so always your transaction will be leads. Always your transaction will be leads from one consistent state to another consistent state. Okay, from a particular consistent state to another consistent state. Let me explain what about this one in the next slide. So wait for a while. Isolation. Isolation in the sense, during the execution of one transaction, no other transaction will be interleaved. For example, transaction 1 will be executed. Transaction 1 have 20 instructions are there, and the transaction 2 does have some other some 15 instructions are there for explanation point of view. Let us consider like this. So first 5 transactions, 5 instructions of that particular transaction T1 has been executed. Then it will be stopped, and the second transaction will be interleaved, something like this. It is not. I mean, these 2 transactions are not in isolated mode. They are in interleaved mode. They are in interleaved mode. So partially transaction 1 has been executed, and it will be so move outside, and so database engine has been taken second transaction for execution, and it could be executed for a while, and After execution of some 5 instructions, then again, so transaction T1 will be taken into consideration. Probably you people have remembered one CP scheduling algorithm, that is round robin. For our kind information, round robin kind of CP scheduling algorithm. Please recall yourself. So round robin could be seen since it's a way. Okay, for transaction 1 will be interleaved by transaction 2. Interleaved. So here we could not use any word. So interrupted. Interrupted is not the correct word here. Interleaving. Interleaving in the sense partially one transaction will be executed, followed by second transaction will be entered into. So execution on omission of first transaction. If this is the case, your two transactions are not in isolation mode. Okay, isolation in the sense it must be, every transaction must be executed so alone. It is not supposed to be taken into any other transactions here. Okay, intermediate results are not supposed to be taken into consideration while any kind of transaction is being executed. So that is what about the isolation. And then followed by durability. What do you mean by durability in the sense? So on successful completion of your transaction, all the changes, whatever the changes you have made so far, they must be persisted. Persistence in the sense, what do you mean by persistence here in the sense? It must be completed on completion basis. Okay, completed on completion basis. That is called as a persistence. Okay, it must be carried until so whole updations will be saved into the database promptly. That is what the durability will be. Okay, even any failure will be get occurred. Even any failure will be, for example, power failure will be there. For example, catastrophic failure. For example, your disk is not working properly. Disk in the sense hard disk is not working properly. For example, internet bandwidth is not available properly. For example, likewise, you will have many failures. So if any failure could be occurred, so the operations which have been done by the transaction must be persisted. Persisted in the sense it must be carried forward. Okay. So these are the 4 different types of operations where exactly you have been considered. So for taking into consideration for a particular transaction here. That is what the meaning regarding to these asset properties. Let me explain everything by taking 1 or 2 transactions into consideration. Let us take the transactions here. Look at this. This is one transaction. Let me explain about this transaction first, then what are the asset properties, let us apply on them. So how this could be. Look at this, your transaction has been started here. Your transaction has been started here. What exactly you are doing here is, from account A, you have been so transferred 500 rupees to so account B. That is the operation here. Okay, from account A, you have been transferred 500 rupees to account B. What exactly we are trying to perform here? You have to open your or begin your transaction, open your account, and take the so A's balance, A's account balance into a local variable, that is old balance. Now new balance will be equal to old balance minus 500. Whatever the balance you have already existed, deduct 500 from your balance, and then update. So this is A dot balance will be equal to new balance in the sense updation. So here old balance equal to so A dot balance in the sense this is selection. Select. So A dot balance into old balance where account number equal to A. Okay, A's account number, something like that. Okay. So this is selection and this is updation. After updation is being happening, then you have to say that yes, the operation will be so permanent. Okay, balance has been so detected and have been so loaded into the account A. So as the balance after 500 has been detected here. Okay, then you have to close your account here. Close your account, and then what exactly you are trying to do? in conversely, what exactly you are trying to do? So you have to open B account. So B account you have to deduct it just before 500 rupees have been deducted from A, and they will be deposited to B here. So do the same operation as this. So in such a way, and here it is. You have a commit point here, and you have one more. So first commit point here, and this is second commit point here. Two different types of commit points are available here. After this one, yes, your transaction is gets over. Your transaction is gets completed. This is completely. This could be happen as a transaction one. Let us take a transaction 10. So here, what exactly transaction 2 will be? For every 3 months, all banks are calculated some interest on savings accounts. For example, 1.5% is the interest, which is available with them. I have given some a vague kind of interest here, but exactly account A, account B, account C, account D, and so on. Number of accounts within that particular bank. I have been taken only 2 accounts and to calculate the interest, and so that interest and old balance will be add together, will be considered as a new balance. That has been done here. That has been done here. So which is being considered as A's account information, and this is being considered as B's account information. From here to here, this is being considered as B's account information here, and so on and so forth. You have many interest calculations could be there with you here. Now the point will be, if these 2 transactions will be submitted at the same time. So now let me explain the asset properties. Let me explain the asset properties here. What do you mean by asset properties here? In the sense, transaction 1 and the transaction 2 both are submitted at the same time. At the same time, then what would be happen? Which transaction is being executed first, and which transaction is being executed next? We could not know, because picoseconds will be picoseconds or petaseconds time gap will be there, which is being taken for execution by the CPU or database engine here. For example, transaction T1 has been executed completely. So totally, so how many instructions? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 instructions are there here. Total 14 instructions have been executed completely. Then transaction T1 will be in atomicity or atomic in nature. Atomic in nature, followed by atomicity has been followed, and isolation has been followed, and consistency has been followed, and then durability also followed. Let me explain how these 4 will be gets followed here. Let me explain all these things. So since 14 instructions are there here, all these instructions have been executed sequentially without taking another instruction during the execution of this one. So atomicity has been followed. So consistency. So how you can consider as a consistency here? Consistency here in the sense, after updating the first account, then it has been gone for commit point, and then after updating the second account, it has been gone for second commit point, and our transaction is gets over. Okay, previously, for example, account A does have some 5,000 rupees, and this is the value, old balance of account A. So B might be having some 1,500, for example. So these are the previous account, previous balances, and balance have been taken into old balance and deducted some amount and written onto the, so whatever the updation you made here, that updation will be took place, and this 5,000 will be updated to 4,500 here. Okay, updation will happen, and this updation will be sent to commit in the sense send it to the server. This updation will be sent to the server. So it has been sent back to the server for permanent storage. Yes, first commit point is over. How many commit points are there? Two commit points are available here. So therefore, first commit point is over. After execution of first commit point, if any transaction will be interleaved, if any transaction will be, this transaction will be so put into ready queue for execution, and one more transaction will be gets so taken into consideration for execution, then it is not followed atomicity. It is not followed atomicity. Okay, so it is not doing something like that. So after commit pointing is reaching, then account has been closed, and then open one more account, and so here the modification will be happened here. The modification will be 1500 plus 500, that is 2000 has been made here, and then second commit point has been reached here. Second commit point has been reached, and then close your account, and then your transaction is completed. Your transaction is entirely completed. So everything has been taken into in a proper order. So atomicity has been taken, and isolation has been allowed. This particular entire transaction has been executed, and the consistency previously 5000 and 1500 will be there. After execution of this particular transaction, what you are expected? 4500 as the balance of A, and 2000 as the balance of B after completion of this particular whole transaction. Yes, same kind of values have been occurred here in terms of A and B accounts. So consistency, one consistent state to so another consistent state, it has been moved after execution of this particular transaction. And the durability in the sense, after end of the transaction, so your whatever the updations you did here, those updations will be so make them into permanent by the database server, so that durability also be gets existed. Durability also be gets existed here. So therefore, in this way, you have to understand the asset properties. Okay. And for example, this is the case. For example, if I would like to consider, just before I have considered that transaction 1 has been 14 instructions have been executed in a sequence, then asset properties have been satisfied completely. Now, for example, I would like to consider that the transaction 1 followed by transaction 1. So out of this particular transaction, so first 4 instructions of transaction 1 will be executed, followed by transaction 2's so 4 instructions, and then followed by transaction 4 instructions, and so on. If this is the case, after 4 instructions of transaction 1 has been executed, then interleaved by transaction T2, and then interleaved by transaction T1, again interleaved by transaction T2. If this is the case, so you could not get the proper answers, because so previously you have 5,000 rupees as the world balance. You may be calculated interest on 5,000, but that is not the case here, because after deduction will be happen, then you have to calculate the interest. Okay, so that is the case here we would like to consider. So if interleaving can be happen here, this interleaving can be so causes as many number of problems. By tomorrow's class, we will see what are the problems which are so available on database transactions if such kind of interleaving can be gets happen while execution of so-called transactions here. We will see each and every point in the next class. Okay. This is what about how you have to consider as the asset properties. Entire transaction must be executed at once, will be called as atomicity, isolation, so and the durability. And then consistent state to another consistent state. Previously 5,000, after execution of this entire transaction, what exactly you require? A's balance will be 4,500 and the B's balance will be 2,000 rupees. Yes, it has been existed as per the example. It is as per the example. Durability, everything will be saved to the or sent to the server for permanent save. Yes, it has been happened. So therefore, that kind of operations will be called as That kind of transactions will be called as an ACID property, so satisfaction level. Okay, so let us have this interleaving procedure by tomorrow's class, because we do have so three different types of problems which are pertaining while interleaving can be happening. Okay, let us do. Now this is what about ACID properties and their explanation point of view. Then come to transaction log. Transaction log, in the sense, already you people have some kind of idea what is a log. If you go and look into the matters of any shop, even then a small commercial shop, if anything will be sold to you, immediately he will open one particular book and he wrote number 5. So number 5, which has been 2,000 rupees have been sold. One more person has been purchased for some 100 rupees. He open again one same book number 6, so 100 rupees. Something like that he may be written onto the book. That is called as a log. That kind of thing is called as log here. He must be record each and every point what operations or what transactions will be gets happened here, because at the end of the day he must calculate how much amount has been secured or drawn from the people after selling some number of goods. Okay, log is useful for that particular purpose. Similarly, in terms of online kind of operations, for example, if you have gone through ATM and you have put your card into that particular ATM mouth and you have entered your pin and withdraw some amount. For example, some X amount, rupees X amount has been withdrawn by you. But you have during the course of period, you haven't observed that the money has been occurred or money has been drawn to that particular amount, and you haven't taken that particular amount, so that the amount will be again get back to the ATM machine back. Then you may be worried about, I did not get any money from the ATM. Then how could you solve that one here? In the sense, using log, it has been solved. Whether withdrawn has been happened properly or not, yes, it has been operated properly. Then how much withdrawal was happened? Actually, ATM will be installed with 1 lakh rupees. 1 lakh rupees has been installed by ATM in the morning, and 20 operations have been happened up to evening. 20 operations have been operated up to evening, and as a cumulatively 20 operations will be withdrawn approximately 90,000 rupees. So whatever the leftover amount which is available with the ATM will be 10,000 only. But because of you are not observed that the amount will be available in the mouth after your operation. So that amount what you have drawn is 5,000. That 5,000 have not been taken by you actually. So immediately this amount will be goes back to the ATM machine. So actually these are the actual operations which could be done. 10,000 will be rest money which is available with ATM. But suddenly if you open ATM and look into the matter, who is this? Who is this? Karthika. I don't know why you people are doing like this. If you are trying to do like this, chat also be disabled for you. Okay, please remember. However, suddenly after 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the evening, so if you observe the ATM, 15,000 will be there. Okay, because you haven't taken that particular money from the mouth of ATM. Obviously, how this could be came to know that, number one, using that log record. Log record is first thing. As per the log record, how many number of transactions have been happened? How many number of withdrawals have been happened today? So 20 withdrawals. How much amount has been taken away from the ATM? 90,000 actually. How much amount it has been remain within the ATM? That is 10,000. But how much amount is available with the ATM physically? That is 15,000, because even 5,000 has not been taken. So it will be 15,000. Okay. Sheikh Gauss, I will remove you. Ah, Bol Mamu, what is this bloody idiot? I will remove you immediately. Sheikh Gauss, where is this guy? Where is this guy? You don't enter into class one more time. Let me. Where is this guy? Where is this Sheikh Gauss? I'll remove and I will make you. I'll make you. I don't give any attendance to you people, both of you. Where is this Sheikh Gauss? Yeah, Sheikh Gauss is here, and I'll remove you. Okay, I don't give any attendance today for you. Okay, however, so this is the specification we have come across with this. This is the specification we have to come across this one. And this kind of mistake was identified by using this particular log records. Okay, that is the importance of log record. Therefore, bank people will identify your problem, and it could be the amount, how much amount you are actually withdrawn, that will be remitted to your account back. This is what the importance of log here. Okay, so in databases, so what are the different kinds of operations which have been there with log here? Log will be sequence of records which are available within the log here, and these will be always making note down of update activities. Okay, whatever the updations you have been. If you are drawn, I mean, select some information from the database, those could not be mentioned. So just before, we have taken one particular point here. Old balance equal to a dot balance. That is, so select balance into old balance, where from so-called table where account number equal to S account number. If you are trying to perform that operation, it could not be noted down into the logbook here. Only updations will be done here. What are the points you have to consider here? Okay, so stable storage in the sense read-only memory, otherwise hard disk is being maintained this logbooks here. And what are the points? What are the operations which we have to note it down here in the sense? So look at this. These are the specific. So each and every row does have these many number of values with it. Every update log record will be represented. So TI in the sense of transaction I, which transaction, every transaction does have its own ID. So that particular ID. XI, what is the operation you have did? So on amount, on whatever what kind of value you have been done. So what is the old value and what is the new value? Okay, if you want to update, if you want any failure will be get occur, you need to have both values. What is the old value and what is the new value? Both will be taken into consideration for identification. Look at this. So transaction identifier. The first item is a transaction identifier. And the second item is a data item. What exactly you did on which item? Normally in the previous transaction, we have been considered on balance. Our data item in the previous transaction will be balance. Okay, on that particular balance, we did modifications or updations. And what is the old value? V1 in the sense of old value, V2 in the sense of new value. Okay, so these four items have been noted down into the log register. Okay, so any modification before going to perform any kind of successful modification or unsuccessful modification, whatever it may be, either it is successful or unsuccessful. So before going to update on the database, it must be written onto the transaction log first, then updation will be happen. Okay, it must be written transaction first and write back onto the database here. So look at this. Let me explain the same point here. Let me eliminate each and everything, then you could understand very easily. So here you have been taken this particular point here. A balance equal to new balance. After calculation of everything, you have been done A balance equal to new balance. The equivalent database operation will be update so-called table, update table, set balance will be equal to new balance, where account number equal to a account number. If you are trying to perform that operation, before going to do the particular operation, so in between these two, so there is a log record. There must be a log record. Okay. In between these two, so there must be a log record. That is the information here. Exactly here also. In between these two, there is a log record. There is a particular log record here. Log record must be here. Okay, like this log record. Before going to update anything, so it must be written onto the log, and then updation will be happen on the specific database. That is what the point you need to consider here. That is what the point here. Look at this. So the point will be seems like this. Prior to performing so-called operation on the database, so it must be noted down into log record first. Then it will be goes to database operation. Okay, and some other operations also be there. Some other operations also be there. Not exactly these four. Some other operations also be there when it was started. Okay, starting time stamping of so-called transaction. A transaction has been started at what time? Okay, so a transaction will be taken the commit point at what time? At what time it has been committed? And then the transaction, if it is failed, at what time it has been failed? So everything will be known, or everything will be noted down. Okay, everything will be noted down into that particular log record here. So based on the starting time, based on the commit point, and based on the abort, if abort will be there, you can easily identify that. If log register might have abort kind of operation, you can easily identify so-called transaction was failed. Okay, transaction 1 and transaction 2 both are being executed in a sequential form. So transaction, during the execution of transaction 2, it has been failed after 2 to 3 instructions. Then immediately transaction 2 T2 comma abort, so will be equal to so and so time. On that particular time, it has a so and so time, so and so date, and so and so each and everything will be noted down. So therefore, we can easily identify that yes, this transaction has been failed. So these are the points I'd like to make for you in this class. Number 1, ACID properties. We have discussed ACID properties here. Then followed by transaction log here, and based on two particular transactions. So we have been discussed what are the probabilities of ACID properties and logs here. Okay, these are the points I'd like to make here, and these points are very, very important, and this will comes to your final examination also. Okay, so this is what today's class, and I will mark up your attendance today. I will mark up your attendance today, and I will send this attendance today. Please inform to the people, Mr. Gauss and one more person. I don't know. He was given with a strange name. So for those two people, doesn't have any attendance. Please inform to them. Okay. If you are supposed to, chart in such a way, obviously you will also not permitted to stay in the classroom. You will be removed, and you could not be accepted for this session. Please remember. Okay. Thank you.